Hey guys, we are back again with our partners over at Fanatics Sportsbook and talking fan cash. Most sportsbooks, well, their rewards are just fluff, but fan cash is the ultimate sports currency. When you bet with Fanatics Sportsbook, you get up to 10% fan cash back on your wagers, win or lose. Did we mention that they are giving away millions in fan cash this year and that you can use that fan cash on anything in the Fanatics universe? Go check it out yourself and download the app today. Fanatics Sportsbook. Winning hits different here. Must be 21 or over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook app. Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for preseason postgame edition of the Knicks Film School Podcast to talk about a game that was the basketball equivalent of a shark. My Lord. Ooh, boy. If you stuck with that one the whole time from tip-off to the final buzzer, take a bow, give yourself a pat on the back, have a cookie, go find a little gold star sticker and pop it on your shirt or your something, because you deserve much credit. I will just say that was, oh boy, that was gnarly. And of course we're going to talk about it because we talk about every game. And I was one of those unfortunate souls, of course, who watched the whole thing, all 48 minutes. Thank God we didn't get overtime in that game. Although I don't know, even with the little bit of spunk the Knicks showed there towards the end, I don't think they were making that level of comeback. So let's take a step back and right off the bat start with the most important number of this game, and it is 189, and that is not how many points the Knicks gave up tonight. Although if you were watching, you'd be forgiven for assuming that was the final score total for the Wizards. No, 189 is the number of millions of dollars in salary of the players that did not take the floor tonight for the New York Knicks. If you count Landry Shamet, whose salary, of course, is not guaranteed, but I put $2 million for him and $2 million for Huck Porty, and then you throw in all the Knicks starters and their sixth man, whoever that may be, probably Josh Hart, adds up to $189 million. That's more money than the entire Wizards payroll, along with a couple other teams out there. So it should go without saying that as we consider that, which on top of the fact that it was a preseason game. So yeah, preseason, and then the fact that nobody played. So when we talk about this game, we consider anything from this game. Really, the only question coming out of this is whether we should pay attention to anything that happened over the course of these 48 minutes. And I would proffer that, yes, we should pay attention to it. And then the question is, all right, well, if we should pay attention to something from the Knicks' performance tonight, if you could call it a performance, how much credit should we give it? And what should we be actually making not a big deal out of? What should we be paying attention to? What are the things that, like, again, I take notes for every game. My notepad did not exceed 1 page tonight because I don't know which to take from tonight, but I did think we take a few things, and I want to get into them right now. I think there are two major storylines that will come out of this game, one good and one bad. The bad one should go without saying what that is, which is the performance of the bench. We'll save that for a bit because I think I may have a take that I don't know, might surprise you. But I think the saying is you get more bees with honey than vinegar, or some such substance. I think it's vinegar. So let's start with an actual positive from tonight on a game in which the Knicks, I believe, were down by 34 points at one point in time. And that is the play of Tyler Kolek. I have kind of poo-pooed the whole Kolek thing since he got drafted. I got into a not quite infamous, but a bit of a back and forth with Jeremy and Andrew on one Sunday pod last year as they were kind of lamenting the fact that Tyler Kolek was not getting more time in, mop-up situations, or I forget who was injured and Tibbs wasn't putting him in. And I was like, I was kind of laughing it off because I'm like, come on, what are we talking about here? Right, Tyler Kolek? This guy's not going to, he doesn't mean anything to this year's team. He's probably not going to mean anything to next year's team. So I have that as my reputation, and it is certainly well earned. And there have been many people that have touted Tyler Kolek's talents to the point that when the Brogdon thing first started, and he was kind of rumored, and then they obviously signed Brogdon, I think it took a lot of people a little bit by surprise, because they were like, well, hold on. They drafted Kolek, whatever he was, 23, 24. They gave him all this money, and now, even in year 2, you're not going to give him a chance to be essentially the third string point guard. And that was coming off a summer league that I would define as not that impressive. He's played in, we've had 3 preseason games. I don't know that his play has ascended to any kind of a hashtag meaningfully impressive level. And tonight goes out there. Now, granted, he was playing against a lot of Wizards third stringers, because the Wizards are resting 5 guys tonight because they are on the second night of back-to-back. But he's 20 points, 7 to 13 shooting, only hit 1 of 5 from 3, but that's okay. 6 assists, 0 turnovers, so typical Tyler Kolek stat line. And again, in a game in which the Knicks got absolutely lambasted. I mean, the Knicks tonight made Marvin Bagley III look like a justifiable pick over Luka Doncic. So in a game that they were down by 1 million points, he was a plus 10 in 23 minutes. And I thought, it is coming from me. Again, not a member of the Kolek Hive. I'm the opposite of that. I thought for the first time, since last year, and one of the very few times in a Knick uniform, I thought he played like a guy who was playing for his job. Now, what is that job? Is that job 4th string Knick point guard? Is that job like member of the Knicks roster? Because again, they still have to make a move, and there's a lot of reports about Dadier. We'll talk about Dadier shortly. I don't know what job it is, but he was playing like a guy who had something to play for. He was playing, it felt like, with a little desperation. He was playing with a little bit of fuck you energy. And I think he was almost playing like a guy who stopped trying to be too careful, which I appreciated. He was going after his shot. I mean, he took 13 shots in the game. It was a team high. You could have won a lot of money tonight if you had bet that someone other than Jordan Clarkson was going to lead the Knicks in field goal attempts, but alas, Tyler Kolek did. And yeah, I mean, he played well on offense. Defensively, it's always going to be an issue with him, and he had a couple of moments, but on the laundry list of defensive miscues for the Knicks as a team tonight, I'm not sure any of Kolek's go in the top 10. And I was like, I got to tell you, I was legitimately impressed watching him play. I was legitimately impressed. I know the competition it came against. Do I think that Tyler Kolek should suddenly be in consideration for a rotation spot, or even a next man up if someone out of the regular rotation is injured spot? No, I don't. But for all the talk in the over the last couple of weeks about, how do you give up on a kid like Dadier, who's 19 years old and has the size and these theoretical tools? Man, theoretical tools. That's a good name for a podcast. Theoretical tools. How many GMs and coaches have lost their jobs because over the course of NBA history because of theoretical tools? In any case, that's Pacome Dadier. That possibility exists out there, and Tyler Kolek is much more. We kind of know what he is, but I don't know. I thought he made a case for himself tonight. Again, what that case is for what role exactly are we talking about? I not quite certain, but he impressed me enough to at least I'd like to see more. So good job by Tyler Kolek. Again, 20 points in 23 minutes. Nice performance from him. And give or take a Trey Jameson the third compliment. My man Tosan going in there. He's out there taking charges in the fourth quarter. Like, we're pretty much going to be at the end of the New York Knicks compliments section of the postgame show. Again, I get it. I get who wasn't on the court. I thought the smartest tweet of the night that I saw came from DJ Zulo, who said very poignantly, pay no attention to what veterans do in preseason. And he didn't say their names, but I think he could have very well been talking specifically about Gershon Yabusele and Jordan Clarkson, who played this game like a couple of vets who were like, why do I need to be playing in this game? Now, is that the attitude that you want them to have? No. Is it any excuse for the defensive performance? I'm not saying it's all on them. That was a team defensive effort. Like, some of the, 36 points given up in the first quarter, 75 points given up in the first half. And after an 11-0 run to start the third quarter, it was 86-52. Again, like, we're talking less than 30 minutes into the game. But it's against this a Wizards team that nobody needs any introduction to how bad this team was and how bad they will probably be again. No shade at my guy Alan Hahn. I'm gonna have Alan on in a couple days on the Knicks Film School podcast. I may needle him a little bit for that. The Wizards are definitely going to be better than last year's team. I may even offer to wager a beverage on that proclamation, but we'll get to that when we come to it. Yeah, I mean, look, this Wizards team is bad, and they came out there and they, mopped the floor with the Knicks, mostly because the Knicks decided that they were not going to play any defense tonight. And that's, it's unfortunate from a mentality standpoint. Although, again, going back to what DJ tweeted, and I agree with it, like, don't pay attention to veterans who don't play well in preseason or look like they maybe don't care. And yet, there's always an and yet. And yet, you would have not liked to see that. And I think that level of performance was a reminder of a few things within context. And this is where we get to what I was talking about earlier, which is like, what conclusions do you draw from a game like this? How serious should those conclusions be? The conclusion is it's not even a conclusion. It's a something. It's what's less than a conclusion. It's an inference. I don't know. And it is a minuscule thing, but it is worth saying. Last year, the Knicks' depth was a problem, and this year they have added to that depth with Yabusele and Clarkson, the two guys. They're bringing back Deuce McBride. They are allegedly going to almost certainly add Malcolm Brogdon to the roster to be, I guess, their 10th man. And then you got two other guys that weren't in there tonight, Landry Shaman and Ariel Hukporty. And then you got a bunch of guys who are probably not going to play minutes. Your Dadiers, your Koleks, and so on and so forth. Tonight to me was a reminder that this team is still like, lest there be any confusion, and I'm not sure that there ever was any confusion, which is why I go back to my original statement about what are we really drawing from this. This team is entirely dependent on its top six. And you want to give me a Deuce McBride asterisk there, because we have seen Deuce McBride play in big playoff games and hit big playoff shots, like massive playoff shots, and other big games that weren't in the playoffs. Like, that's fine. So you want to tell me top seven? Tell me top seven. But like I actually said, and shout out to everybody in the Chat Knicks app, I think we're getting close to like 250 members now. Not bad for being a week and a half old. Everybody go and check that out so you could chat with us during the game. But I said in the Chat Knicks app, beforehand, before the game, I'm like, maybe it's just me. I'm really excited to see Deuce McBride play tonight. And I said that because looking at who he was out there with, again, Yabusele, Clarkson, Brogdon, and Dadier, and again, looking at the 5 guys who were out, started the game for Washington, Trey Johnson, Bub Carrington, Justin Champagnie, Keyshawn George, and Marvin Bagley III. I don't think it was me being a homer to think that Deuce McBride is the best of those 10 players. And could he go out there and look like it? And that was not the case. It was 3 turnovers. It was 4 of 12 from the field. It was 2 of 9 from 3. And it's just, again, I'm not putting this on McBride. I would say that, again, the Yabusele and Clarkson, and they can be forgiven, were more of the culprits. But it's the reason I go through that stat line for McBride is, again, it's a reminder that Deuce McBride is a guy who is exceptional in his role. And as we are wont to do as a fan base, there have been many people over the last, year and a half, 2 years that have been trying to nudge him into a bigger role than he has had. And, that didn't happen. And there was a lot of blame directed at the particular person for that not happening. And now here we are, and we are on the cusp of a new season with a brand new coach. And we haven't heard 1 ounce of reporting that McBride has ever been in consideration for anything more than a role off the bench for this team. And I don't think that's a coincidence, because you see him when he has a chance, like tonight, to be something more than what he is when he's alongside more talented players and better players, and so pretty uneven. So, and then he's their 7th man, and then Yabusele and Clarkson, I think Yabusele is going to play an important role for this team. I was talking, shout out to, my guy, Kevin Danishevsky, because we were going, not going back and forth, but he made the point tonight that we shouldn't draw any conclusions about whether Yabusele should ever play the 5 based on this game. And I actually agree with that. Nobody should draw any conclusion about anything based on this game. But Yabusele reminded everybody, he is not a rim protector. And I was actually thinking of the interview I had over the summer, and you'll be forgiven if you missed this, but I was kind of scrounging for content. And Yabusele was over in the Euro Cup, and he was kind of the leader of Team France. So I went and got on Pius Sapetka of Basket News to talk about Yabusele, because he had been covering him in person and had experience covering him over the last several years as he was playing over in Europe. And I asked him, I'm like, do you have any I forget what prompted me to ask, because something did. And I asked him, I'm like, do you have any insight on whether Yabusele prefers to play the 4 or the 5? And he's like, yeah, I think he prefers to play the 4. And I think that was pretty evident tonight. But again, we're not drawing conclusions. Might there be some scenario where it would make sense to play Yabusele at the 5? I guess, if you're maybe doing some kind of switch everything lineup with him and OG and Bridges and Hart, and Brogdon or McBride or something like that. Yeah, maybe, I guess. Is that juice really worth the squeeze? I don't know that it is. So is he your 8th man? Is he your 7th man? Is Clarkson your 8th man? Is he your 9th man? I don't know. And again, Clarkson, we know what Clarkson is. He's a guy who is playing on the minimum because his previous team waived him. He's going to have some great nights. He's going to have some not so great nights. And then you got Brogdon, who had a couple of nice moments, but nothing crazy there. And then I'll save Dadier for last. So you had this group of guys out there. Some teams in the league, if and teams out there that may not be nearly as good as the Knicks because their top end talent is not as good. But there are teams out there that if you put out their 7th man, their 8th man, their 9th man, their 10th man, and maybe their 12th man on the floor at one time, you might get like something resembling a semi-competitive NBA effort. That was not the case. And again, I'll go back to that first number, 189 million. And if you want to take off the 4 million for Huckporty and Landry Shamet, still 185. Still a lot of money. That's what this Knicks team is. And, Mike Brown was brought here in part because the previous coach knew exactly where his bread was buttered and leaned into his top, really 5 guys, because Mitch was hurt for most of the last year. He leaned into his top 5 guys way more than he probably should have, and certainly way more than the organization wanted him to. But, I don't think even Tibbs' biggest critics would understand like where that was coming from. The challenge, I think, for Mike Brown is going to be how he, sets this team up first, gets their main lineups, gets their core lineups, enough time playing together, enough experience, and trying to experiment, all that stuff, while also working in everybody on the kind of back-ish end of the rotation and roster and making sure that they are big parts of the team, and obviously not running the top guys into the ground. I don't think he's going to do that. But again, it'll be interesting. Like he's kind of danced around whether he would actually have a 10-man rotation. He's used the word 9.5-man rotation. I personally would in like a real game would be a little not shocked. I'd be a little surprised if we ever saw a minute of this team again in a close game, in a game they're trying to win, where at least one starter was not on the floor. Again, if you go, assuming everybody's healthy, to be very clear, assuming everybody's healthy, because you just look at them and you look at the fact that, all right, it's pretty clear now that Mitch is going to start and Cat's going to be the backup 5. It sort of makes sense that a starter is always going to be out there, even if that starter, like last year, is Cat and he's playing with 4 subs. Doesn't mean you can't have a 10-man rotation. You still can. It's a little tricky to have a 10-man rotation and always have one starter out there, but it's, it's possible. So, it's going to be interesting to see how he deploys these guys. And, how he makes sure. And look, the luxury you have if you're Mike Brown, and it's a significant luxury, is that if you want, you could always have an all-NBA player on the floor. And for as frustrating as Karl-Anthony Towns can be to some people, me included, his mere presence, certainly on the offensive end, and I got to tell you, in comparison to Yabusele at the 5, on the defensive end as well, because he's a big guy. And if he stands there and he puts his hands up, it's something, it's significant, to say nothing of the mere presence of an OG Anunoby or a Mikal Bridges. Or, and this is the guy that I really wanted, I had his name circled here at the bottom. Maybe the guy I'm thinking about the most tonight, more than Kolek, more than, any of these guys, is Josh Hart. And just how important Josh Hart is to this team. And that may seem like an odd point to be making after a game in which none of the starters and Hart didn't play. But thinking about how Hart is dealing with this back thing, and that clearly there is an ethos now in this organization where they're going to be a little more cautious and they're not going to overly push guys. We're 9 days away from opening night. Look, you may not care how the Knicks, what the regular season record is or what they do on opening night against Cleveland. I don't have my hopes up because still learning a new system, the whole thing. But man, Josh Hart better get well quick. And if there's a silver lining for me for this game, other than Kolek's performance, it's that it feels like there's been some, thought recently given to, how is Mike Brown going to fit Josh Hart in because, it's non-spacer and we love these open lanes and the whole thing. If tonight did not make it evident that they desperately need a guy like Josh Hart to be a stabilizing presence as a sixth man, whether he plays 20 minutes a night, 25 minutes a night, or even, might get up around 30. I know Tibbs isn't the coach anymore, but don't be shocked if Josh Hart gets up there around that minute total on some nights. That's so massive, because having Hart as your sixth man slots everybody else into place. It slots Deuce into his proper place as a seventh man, which is that's what he is in the NBA. It slots a guy like Huck Porty into a 18 to 20-ish minutes a game role off the bench as probably your eighth man. It slots Clarkson into a role where it's like, hey, let's send him out there. If he's got it tonight, awesome. If he doesn't got it, you know what? We could play him 14 minutes tonight or 16 minutes tonight, and it's not a big deal. That all comes back to Hart. Again, assuming you don't want to overextend the starters, which we've been told repeatedly that they don't want to do. So that's who I was really thinking about more than anybody tonight. I just saw a quote from the Knicks head coach, who I do not believe held back in his comments here. Our starters, this is from Knicks videos, our starters did not bring the energy. This is probably a worse basketball game overall, and we did it in spurts. He called it a great learning experience. That was from Knicks videos, SNY's account, Chris Persiane and Mike Brown. Shout out to KP. Excited to see you on Locked On, buddy. Mike Brown notes the Knicks weren't good at their shifts defensively. Great film to learn from, because we made a lot of mistakes that were uncharacteristic of how we played so far. Great learning experience. We'll all go from it and hopefully take a step forward. So there you go. Yeah, it was a disaster on defense. But, and again, I'm more focusing on the offense because it wasn't great on offense either. But like Anunoby, Bridges, Mitch, like these are your defensive backbones. None of them were there tonight. And yeah, Josh Hart belongs somewhere in that conversation as well. All right, I've been talking for almost a half an hour about this game because I don't know why I have issues. I have not really mentioned Pacome Dadier. I thought Mike Brown's pregame comments regarding Dadier, that he needs to like remember how big he is and use that size and everything. And I think, I forget what his exact words were, but it was something along the lines of like, it was like alluding to how he will have a long career, but he has to get these things right. And like in time. Hearing his comments, I did not strike me as a coach who was talking about a player who was going to be a, big part of this thing going forward. I saw somebody say that they read a report that, maybe there was going to be a decision coming soon. Maybe, I don't know if they're going to make a decision before Friday. Probably they don't have to. They could make a decision, a week from tonight, whatever it is. I'll just say right now, I just, again, repeating myself from past post games and past shows we've did. You may not have been impressed by Malcolm Brogdon tonight. I get that. Take it with a grain of salt. The guy's been in the league for a long time. He's been to finals. He's won Sixth Man of the Year, Rookie of the Year. If this team is trying to win big, and they're trying to win the biggest thing that there is to win in the NBA, it's all hands on deck. And I would just be utterly shocked if they did anything other than trade Pacome Dadier somewhere to free up not only the space under the second apron to sign both Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet. Shout out to Garrison Matthews. You did a nice job, but I don't think you did enough. But also, in addition to that, to bring in a 15th guy on their roster later in the year, because, hey, you never know. both who you'll need in terms of with injuries popping up, but also who might become available on the buyout market that you could get for that 15th roster spot. So I expect it to be Dadier, but we'll see. He's certainly been given ample opportunity to show everybody that he is a level of NBA player ready to contribute this year, now, in the present moment. And I know he hit a couple of threes out of the gate. Good for him. I don't think he has shown enough to for this coaching staff to believe, like, hey, if we need this guy to step up and play some minutes this year, he's going to be able to give us good minutes. I don't think he's shown enough to be able to make that statement, not against real NBA competition. And tonight, all due respect to these guys playing for the Wizards, this wasn't even real NBA competition. So, all right. I think that's it. I kind of hit on everything that I want to hit on one way or another. Yeah, I don't think I missed anything. Okay. So on that note, why don't we take a quick word to hear from our good friends at Fanatics Sportsbook, who we're doing something a little different tonight for a limited time only. We're talking about NBA futures. Our friends at Fanatics Sportsbook are offering a 20% boost on all NBA future bets. Yes, here's how it works. Listen carefully. You select any Knicks or NBA futures bet, and then you opt in, and you get a 20% profit boost, just like that. That's easy. So opt-in is required. It's select customers only. Maximum wager, of $200. Minimum odds of -500, and the offer expires at 11 p.m. Eastern time on October 16th. So get in while the getting's good. It must be 21 or older. Of course, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app. And before we go, as a special added bonus, I'm going to take a look. We're going to take a look, if you're watching on the Knicks Film School YouTube channel right now, at some potential NBA future bets involving the Knicks. So what do we got here? We got some regular season wins, just a flat regular season wins, over under 53.5. I've already said everybody could hate me for this. It's fine. I would take the slight under 53.5. I think 53 wins sounds about right. And as you could see, there's a little bit more action on the under for this bet. If you like the Knicks to win the Eastern Conference, get a little bit of a bang for your buck there at plus 290. I like that. So, certainly better than the Cavs at plus 235. I would say if you're taking the Knicks at plus 290, it probably doesn't hurt to maybe cover your bases a little bit with a Cavs bet. I personally don't see anybody else actually that's going to win the East. If you like the Knicks to win a championship, plus 900, I don't know if that's juicy enough for me. If I really thought this was the year of destiny for the Knicks to win the championship, I would probably wait until there's a 3-game losing streak or somewhere along the way in the season, and see if you get that a little bit higher odds. There's a bunch of alt regular season wins bets. Again, I'm not going to begrudge anybody for being super high on this team. If you are super high on this team, I would say, I don't know. It's tough because 56 or more wins is plus 280, which is essentially the same as the Knicks to win the Eastern Conference. So, which of those two do you make? 60 or more wins is plus 450. I don't know, man. 60 wins, first-time coach, new offense, new defense, and I just spent a half an hour talking about how this team is so dependent on their top, that top of the rotation. What happens if multiple of those guys go down for any period of time? That's why I don't know about those. The bet, and again, I'm not making a whole lot of friends here by saying this on a Knicks freaking postgame show. But if you're just looking for some value, I Denver to beat the Knicks in the finals at plus 3,000 to me, because here's the thing. I think the Knicks have a really good chance to make the finals. I'm picking them to make the finals. I think they should be favored to make the finals. I think they should be favored to make the finals over the Cavs. Again, do I think they have like a better than 50% chance to make it? No, but I think they have a higher percentage chance to make the finals than anybody else in the East. Somewhere in like the 40s. I don't know, whatever it is. So if you think the Knicks are going to make the finals, who do you realistically see coming out of the West? To me, it's either OKC or Denver. You know, I don't see anybody. I mean, Houston would have been in that conversation, but Van Fleet went down, so I don't see that. So if it's OKC or Denver, and you could get those odds on just, I mean, cover your bases. Obviously, do Knicks to beat the Nuggets in the finals. I mean, do both. Nuggets over Knicks, Knicks over Nuggets. Pull on action on both. I like them. And then if you really want to have some fun, Knicks to beat the Thunder in the finals is plus 3,500. So all interesting stuff there. Again, that is the special NBA futures boost. Limited time. It's a 20% boost. Take advantage of that over at our friends from Fanatics Sportsbook. One more very quick word from our friends, as soon as I could find the read, which is here somewhere, from Cornbread. Yes, if life's been a little crazy lately, one thing that can help you unwind is Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies. I needed some CBD gummies over the last 24 hours because we were down in Florida for a family thing, and there was like a couple of hours last night where we were convinced that our plane today was not going to be taking off. And so we started researching alternate flights out, which all the alternate flights for tomorrow had one stop, and we have two small kids, so that's a no-go. And then all the direct flights were on like Wednesday, and they were like $1,000 pop. So life was a little crazy last night, and thank God for Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. If you've been looking for a natural way to relieve aches and discomfort and stress, the CBD gummies from Cornbread are formulated to work with your body and not against it. And that is, of course, because they are third-party lab tested and USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. Right now, Knicks Film School listeners, can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS. Okay. I think we got 3 super chats, which is about right for this game. Probably 3 more super chats than this game deserves, but they are very much appreciated. First one comes to us from Drew P. And I like this question. Should Ariel Huckborty, be our 10th man? Our defense is center-based. Well, you could be forgiven, Drew, for having this thought tonight, watching that, again, big air quote energy here, performance that we saw from the Knicks reserve. That being said, while I don't necessarily disagree with you that the Knicks defense is center-based, because I think to some extent, every good defense in the NBA has, if not elite rim protection, at least a certain level of rim protection. Just look at the teams that succeed year after year. I don't know that we should, again, theme of the night, we should be drawing too many conclusions based on the fact that the Knicks perimeter wing defense tonight out of the gate consisted of Pacome Dadier, who's 19 years old, Jordan Clarkson, who on his best day in the prime of his career was not a plus defender. And I guess you'd say Deuce at the 3. Now, I've touted Deuce at the 3 as a tenable thing that the Knicks can use in 3-guard alignments. And I will stand by that. I will tout that when the guys behind them are not only Mitchell Robinson at the 5, but also OG Anunoby at the 4. And so I don't know that we should be saying Hawk has to be the 10th man because we need that defensive presence at center for two reasons. One, Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, as long as they're healthy, are both going to play 32, 33, 34, whatever minutes for this team. B, Josh Hart is still a pretty good wing defender, even if he didn't show it very often last season. And I think there were different reasons for that. Some his fault, some not. You know, but and then the last part, like Ariel Hukporti has very good defensive tools, and he had some nice defensive moments last season. He is a second-year NBA player. So assuming that you are going to plug him in and he's going to be some sort of a defensive anchor or even just like a plus defensive center on a consistent basis, I don't know that I would like that's what I'm hanging my hat on there. This is a very long-winded way of saying no. I don't think that Hukporti is going to be the 10th man. And frankly, I'm really not sure he should be the 10th man. Although, you know, it's not nuts. Because really, what are we talking about? We're talking about him versus Brogdon versus Shamet. Of those three, I honestly, I might be inclined, if it was up to me, I might be inclined to say Shamet, just because it's movement shooting, it's feisty-ish defense. But I also am not gonna like the Brogdon piece of it. If he's healthy and motivated and the whole thing, he is unquestionably the best player of those three. And it's just a matter of, okay, how's he gonna like? What is he doing out there? Do they need his skill set the most versus Shamet's skill set versus Hukporti's skill set? It's gonna be Brogdon. You know, my guess is it's gonna go Brogdon 10, Shamet 11, Huck 12. I lost count for a second. You know, Kolek 13. And then I don't even know who the hell I'm forgetting. Yeah, but that would be my guess is the order it's gonna go. But we'll see. Thanks, Drew. John Leary, what's going on, John? How are we feeling on Clarkson? Gotta say, I'm not sure. I think Clarkson is one of those guys you're gonna have to judge him on a larger sample size. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm happy to have the first Jordan Clarkson conversation. Like, I was going to say 10 games into the regular season. Honestly, it's like with anything else in the NBA. You know, where are you, like, around, maybe not Christmas, but you can't draw too many conclusions before December at the very least. You know, and he's a guy who goes through ups and downs, and like there are going to be rough nights. I think the only way that the Clarkson thing goes the way of Austin Rivers is if he's not, well, a couple ways. Because if you're going to have Jordan Clarkson on your team, he's going to shoot it. Like, that should go without saying. He's there to shoot the basketball. He can pass it. He will pass it more than he has. But he's there to shoot it. So if he's going to be on your team and you're going to but here's the other part of it. He's not like Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet could come in there and play 8 minutes in a night and get up 3 shots in those 8 minutes, or 2 shots, 2 threes in those 8 minutes. And like, that's fine. Because he doesn't need, like, if Clarkson's on your team, like, and he's in there, like, he's putting up shots. So will his presence detract from the offense in any way because he needs those shots? I don't think it will, and I think it'll actually be healthy for this offense in a way. But again, that is a concern. And then the other part of it would be the defense, especially since, again, looking like just assuming, and maybe I shouldn't assume, make an ass out of you and me. I am assuming we're going to get more of Cat with the backups minutes, especially since if they're going to start Mitch and you don't want to play Mitchell Robinson in long stints, so then you're going to have Mitchell Robinson as either the first or the second starter out of the game. So then so that you're putting your subs in and you're going to maybe get Cat to play, the whole first quarter or most of the first quarter. Like, I see it headed in the direction where Clarkson and Cat are maybe going to be paired quite often. And depending on who else is around them, like, are those units going to be viable defensively? So that's the other way it could go. Give Clarkson time. He's going to be frustrating at moments, but give him time. I think there's still a really good chance that he's an asset to this team. And if he's not, well, you know what? That's why guys like Brogdon and Shamet are potentially more important than even we're making it out to be right now. And he also, in regards to Clarkson, he only cost you minimum contract. So, no harm, no foul. And I believe this is last but not least from Hush to trade everyone. Yeah. Look, I'm curious who he plays, who Mike Brown plays on Friday. Does he want to give the starters another look? I'm actually a little curious why he didn't, like, what was the decision making behind not playing the starters tonight? Did he feel like it's the Wizards, I'm not going to be able to learn anything against his team? Maybe. Did he feel like he's seen everything he needs, or the starters in the preseason at least have gotten all the benefit that they could get yet or already? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I mean, they didn't play today, so I would assume the starters are not going to play a ton on Friday night. They frankly probably shouldn't. It's the last preseason game. The last thing you want is for someone to get injured so close to the start of the regular season, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. They'll be fun. Again, if you watch tonight, give yourself a pat on the back for even sticking it out. It was gnarly. It was rough, but we're not drawing any conclusions based on this, other than, again, things that we already kind of should have known. So yeah, I think that's about that. I don't got anything else. Thank you everybody for checking out. Again, it's freaking Wizards preseason postgame. Shout out to Mark on the ones and twos for tonight. Taking one for the team on this game. Everybody, a couple of announcements before we get out of here. Don't get out of here yet, because I realized I haven't even talked about this yet on this show. I announced my new podcast, which is called NBA Takedown. It is first episode is, we're doing it live. There's gonna be a live show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. So if you want to go over right after you get off of watching me here on the Knicks Film School YouTube channel, go over and follow NBA Takedown on YouTube, and also or subscribe, I guess I should say, on YouTube, and also follow NBA Takedown wherever you get your podcasts, because if you miss the live show at noon, again on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's going to be flipped into a podcast right after. Extremely excited about the show. I love the NBA. I love talking about the NBA. I've loved this league for 80% of my life, almost as much as I love the Knicks, who are, of course, part of the NBA. And I'm going to be having conversations with some immensely talented people. Sean with a W and Jeff J have agreed to be my primary co-hosts here. Got some other friends that are going to be making some regular appearances. Shout out Dexter Henry. I have already some awesome guests lined up for the first couple of weeks. And so lots of great stuff coming up. So yeah, again, NBA Takedown. Check that out if you are so inclined. First show is like, I don't know, 30 something hours from now, 40 hours from now. I can't believe it. Anyway, also other things, Knicks Film School on social, subscribe at Nick Film School on all your social channels. Subscribe to the pod and rate and review that as well. You guys know about the YouTube. Make sure you smash that like button. And then, of course, bonus content on Knicks Film School Patreon and my Substack, Knicks Film School newsletter, which I actually got a lot of exciting things happening. I got an exciting announcement coming on the Substack probably early next week, I think, is when I'm probably going to drop that. And that's another one. So listen, this is what happens when you do this stuff full time. You got stuff and you're like, hey, what am I going to do now? And you think of podcasts and other ideas and God knows what else. So, and now you're all stuck dealing with all of this. So I feel very bad for all of you. Okay. Thanks everybody. I will be back. I know I'm recording tomorrow night. It's a crossover episode with another podcast that will be revealed soon. So that's cool. Got a very special guest lined up for the middle of this week on the Knicks Film School Podcast. So stay tuned for that, for what has become a preseason tradition. Lots of great stuff coming up, all leading up to, of course, opening night next week. Be there, be square, and we will talk to you soon. Peace out.